Hey peeps, in today's edition of Walking with Tarot, I want to talk about the Five of Knives or the Five of Swords. This is the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith depiction of the Five of Swords, and this is my personal favorite depiction of the Five of Swords, the Five of Knives in Ian Daniels' Tarot of Vampyres. I want to encourage you to just kind of sit with that imagery here on your own for a moment. What sticks out to you within the image? What feels unsettling? What might feel comforting, within this image? And I'll show you again here the Five of Swords. I'm not so much focused on the traditional meaning here within the Five of Knives. As the years have gone by, my relationship and connection with this card has really grown and evolved and shifted. It was a card initially I would dread getting personally, as I found in my life when this card would appear in daily draws, I would tend to have experiences with people where I felt particularly energetically drained, if not outright taken advantage of in certain scenarios and situations. But over time, I've had a powerful awareness around this card in what it is teaching us. And it has a lot to do with perspective, autonomy, patience, and valuing ourselves. So I wanted to read to you from Phantasmagoria, which is the guidebook for the Tarot of Vampyres by Ian Daniels. It is currently out of print, I know, but it does occasionally have another printing. And if it does in the near future, I would suggest you get on it. If you haven't, the guidebook itself is worth the investment, even if you're not called to the darker themed artwork. But here on page 240, in paragraph 2, Ian says, "This card portrays the need for passive endurance of a painful experience and recognition that overcoming such negative situations creates a reawakening of self. Our fear of defeat and failure must be overcome by developing feelings of harmony and calm detachment from anxiety. Despite our fears, we should be aware that adversity and hardships make us stronger. Fear is irrational in nature and does not necessarily reflect the real situation, but rather touches our most instinctive worries. These are the deep, unfathomable, and often irrational instincts that the mind does not want to unravel, making the fear more of an obstacle to us than the actual situation itself, which we already have the courage to deal with." And on page 241, he says here in paragraph 1, "In the foreground, we see a knife within reach of the girl. In a moment's revelation, she can reverse the narrative by her perception. This symbolizes the ability of the mind to accept the tragedies of life and transform them into a productive learning experience. The gradual defeat of our fear propels us to greater valor, and sets free all the energies which have been bound up with our fears, leading to knowledge and power in a deeper sense. We must now use our rational mind to make a sharp attack, to defeat a spirit in us that has grown stagnant and is now a poison rather than a pleasure. Defeat is the cost of an excessive avoidance of conflict. Although difficult, conquering challenges will realign us with our spiritual center and guide us towards our higher goal. The very act of going through the trial gives us the strength and wisdom for transforming victories. It is time to break down old images and boundaries, step outside our comfort zone, and revolutionize our lives with the assurance that hardships lead us to greater truth and inner wisdom." And I wanted to share these awarenesses that Ian gives us around the key within the Five of Swords or the Five of Knives, and that is patience and perspective. I also think it is very important at this time and where many of us are at on our journeys to be aware, to acknowledge that pain and hardship, while difficult to endure, is a powerful teacher. And within tarot, we aren't meant to run away from pain and hardship, but instead to find the truth within ourselves and bring our presence to the awareness of the lessons and our abilities to transforming our experience. I really love this idea of finding the sweet within the sting, as we've talked about for years here on the channel. But even more than that, not allowing ourselves to be afraid of experiencing pain, discomfort, and hardship, but that these can be seen as teachers, albeit not the most perhaps jovial of teachers, but teachers that have a lesson to enact with us that allows us to value ourselves more, open up to new perspectives, and make new decisions and choices. And I have found personally that this card, when I draw the Five of Swords, it's an awareness that I'm handing over my power oftentimes out of fear of wanting to be accepted or not viewed as too much or different, and that I'm handing over a piece of my own individuality and sense of self to perhaps another individual, an experience, or even a group of individuals in order perhaps to fit in or to have an experience of being safe. And so over the years, when I draw this card personally, it is very much a call to go within, access my own understanding of the lesson of what the fear has activated for me, and then make changes in my experience so that I'm no longer participating in a dynamic where someone is taking from me, is scaring me, or is draining me energetically. And again, I do think it is important that we allow our human experience to be about feeling our emotions and being with our journey instead of attempting to evacuate our body when we have experiences where we feel opened or vulnerable or messy emotionally, but instead to be with those emotions and the truths of our experiences and our interactions with others, and to be with the reality of our fear. Looking at our fear, being with our fear, allows us to see, as Ian says, that it's not as big as it may appear. It is not the phantom it seems to be at first glance. The knife is actually within our ownness to control, to take up, and to protect ourselves, to rewrite our story, yes, but also to be real with ourselves about what our story is. And so for me, the Five of Knives is a teacher that, while I may not have invited them into my space consciously, there's a reason why I'm interacting with this teacher. And if I can step out of my own anxiety and fear, well, then I can connect to the story, to the lesson, and then I have the power to choose how I wish to interact from a space of knowing myself and valuing my place in my own story. And in readings with clients, for me, this card really has come to represent energetic draining, energetic vampires in a person's experience, if you will. And manipulation that can arise from others taking advantage of our own fears. How do we best combat that? By confronting and engaging with our own fears and emotions. Then we are no longer able to be manipulated and controlled by someone who can see that there is a tender spot within us around that fear. Instead, through our vulnerability and authenticity, we can be real, and from that space, move forward. The manipulation loses its hold on us. It doesn't become as intense and powerful. It becomes something that we can see and deal with and be real about. And from that space, we can emerge as the main character of our own story, knowing ourselves more, understanding the human experience at a deeper level, and able to think for ourselves. So Let me know in the comment section down below how you work with the Five of Swords or the Five of Knives, and what this card has come to mean for you personally over the years in walking with tarot. It's one of those powerful cards that just shifts in its meaning in the most spectacular of ways over time. And I'm happy to say it's now a card I don't dread pulling, but instead I'm kind of ready to buckle in and get real with myself when this card appears. So I hope you are all having a wonderful week out there in the world. I am sending you, as always, oceans of love, and you know I will see you in the next video.